I'm Kenneth Kinney, and welcome to another episode of An Education That Works, where every week Victory University brings together profiles of leaders in our community who've gone on to achieve phenomenal success in their career after earning a college degree. Who better to focus on an education that works today than our guest, the 2012-2013 Tennessee Teacher of the Year, as recognized by the Tennessee Department of Education. An elementary school teacher known for her creative class projects and personalized approach, Ms. Allyson teaches second grade and third grade at Richland Elementary School. With over 10 years of experience in teaching in the Memphis and now Shelby County school system, Allyson is the first teacher in over 3 decades to receive the state's top honor. So here's the chance to not only recognize a nationally board certified teacher, but also to recognize a teacher who's got some demonstrated secrets to success, and let's look at learning some of the methods to helping create better teachers for tomorrow. So I invite you to join me now with Victory University on An Education That Works. All right, so thank you again for joining us for another edition of An Education That Works. I'm here with Allyson Chick, who is the 2012-2013 Tennessee Teacher of the Year. She's an elementary school teacher, teach second and third grade here at Richland Elementary. So Allyson, thank you for being on the show. And if you will, tell me a little bit about your own educational background, how you got your start, and where you got to where you are today.
I'll try to make a long story short. I was a product of Shelby County Schools. I went to Germantown Elementary, Germantown Middle School, and I ended up graduating from Bartlett High School, although I did go to Germantown High School for 2 years. When I was a kid, I loved playing school. I loved everything about school, and my little sister credits me with being one of her first teachers because I would watch my teachers and learn strategies from them, and then I would go practice on my little sister. Mm-hmm. So while she was in her crib, I would go into her room and read to her and hold my book up and turn the pages of the book just like my teachers did. So I really worked hard with her to help her learn to read. My teachers growing up helped me love teaching.
Where did talk about your college background and where you got that you were inspired to be a teacher, but then where did it take you through college to want to become one?
Well, I loved teaching growing up. I graduated from the University of Memphis, but when I first started at the University of Memphis, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And for the first 2 years, I was undecided. I thought I wanted to be a nurse, and then I wasn't sure about how the salary was going to work for me to choose teaching. But in the end, I thought that it was more important that I chose something that I loved. And honestly, that is really the best thing that you can do, is to be in a career that you truly love. So
I thought all teachers made millions. So.
How unfortunate that we don't.
Well, it is a passion, and you know that you're doing well for students. So when you look back on what best prepared you in college, in particular in your higher education, what was it that helped best prepare you? Because when you're teaching second grade, you're not necessarily going to become a biology expert or pre-law. I mean, what was it that you got as part of your education, as your degree, that helps you best prepare to become a great teacher today?
Well, I would say the most beneficial thing in my college prep program was going into the schools and seeing teachers doing the work. I had some great professors at the university level, but the true preparation came when I entered the classrooms and I saw what real teachers were doing, and I was able to watch those best practices being modeled by expert teachers. The whole idea of a mentoring program and having good exemplars for what quality instruction is supposed to look like is the most beneficial outcome.
Well, when you look back at your own favorite teachers, because I'm sure that there's not a second grader or third grader now who doesn't, right now you're the best teacher they're ever going to have, and hopefully that will go on. But when you look back at your own favorite teachers, what was it about them that made you remember them so much?
I had so many teachers that I loved growing up. One of my One of my favorite years was the year I was in the 5th grade, and I had 2 teachers. That was the first year that we were able to swap classes, and I had Miss Olson and Miss Joyner. So Miss Violet Olson, if you're out there, and Miss Joyner, I hope you remember me from 5th grade. I loved swapping classes, and I loved having you as my 5th grade teachers. In 6th grade, Miss Nugent and Miss Laney and Miss Day. I couldn't wait to have those teachers. We were in portable classrooms, and I loved it. It wasn't so much the powerful lessons, it was the way those teachers made me feel being in those classrooms. They made me feel valued as a student. They gave so much of themselves personally and really reached us on that familial level that I think is essential for students. The students want to come into the classroom and feel that they're cared for, and they need that nurturing environment. And my teachers provided that family extension that I think that I needed, that support system.
So how do you do that today? I mean, obviously you're going to teach a little bit different. You pulled all the things you've learned and all the good things you got from those teachers.
Right.
How did that translate to where you are with your own school children?
Absolutely. My students are an extension of my family. We talk all the time about how they're going to spend more time with me during the school year than they will with their own families. And this is our school family. And to some of my students, it's kind of like I'm their school mama. And we take care of each other. We support each other. It's not uncommon for me to go to my students' birthday parties, for me to attend their sporting events. I live in the neighborhood, and that's something that I wanted. I wanted to live in the neighborhood among my students so I can see what their lives were like. You're having your knowledge of students as a teacher is beyond what you see in the classroom. There are so many factors that go into what makes a student. It's not just what you see on pencil and paper in your room every day. Kids come in they're affected by their environment outside of school, and they come in with lots of needs that you don't always see on the outside.
Talk about some of those needs that you run into, because obviously I think kids grow up much faster than they did especially when I was young. Of course, you're 20, so but a lot of the problems seem to manifest themselves more quickly. A lot of that's because of the internet. But
Right.
how do you help a child in here that's surrounded by so much stuff that's
Right.
out there that you didn't necessarily have to deal with before when you were a child?
Right. I think that we've all had challenges through life. I think the challenges have changed, like you said, but ultimately the needs of our children really are the same. We want to feel cared for, we want to feel nurtured, we want to feel safe. We want to feel like the adults that are in our lives are there for us. And so for my students, I'm always there for them. They know that they can tell me anything. I'm very reachable for my students. I work very long hours, which I don't suggest that all teachers should do that, but I'm after school a lot. I'm very available to their parents. My students' parents know that they can email me, they can call me, they can come up to school. My door is always open. It used to be that the school was the center of a neighborhood or a community, that it was the church, it was the school, it was the place where everyone met for celebrations, and that's changed quite a bit. And so I think that creating that welcoming atmosphere for parents and kind of going back to those roots where the school was more of a focus, not just for academics, but for those celebrations and those familial events, and that having that openness is essential.
I think one of the most important things that we can teach our students is learning to properly assess and look at the data that is available to them, and then use that data to make decisions. So many times we hear from our employers, our external employers, and the one thing that they want our students to know is how to think critically and how to make decisions and how to work on teams. One of the things that our classes have to offer are those small group intensive training to help them to learn to think critically. And I believe that that's very important for our students and for their future employers. It's something that we can give to the students to help them as they seek employment outside the school.
So being named Tennessee Teacher of the Year, obviously it's an honor. It's also a lot because you work with a lot of very good teachers here. And I'm sure a lot of them are great. What do you think the state recognized in you, the Tennessee Department of Education? What did they recognize in you that made you be recognized as really, it was the first teacher in Memphis in 3 decades, I believe, that was awarded that honor? I mean, that's a pretty, amazing goal, and that gives a lot of people, not only just at Richland, but at all other schools around here, and future teachers and students today. What do you think made them realize that you were the Tennessee Teacher of the Year?
Okay. I think the Tennessee Teacher of the Year is someone who is dedicated to their profession, committed to excellence, is a lifelong learner, someone who can represent the profession in all of the excellence that teachers have all over the state. Someone that can be an advocate for students and an advocate for the profession. Someone who believes that all students can achieve at high levels and is committed to bringing out the strengths in even the most reluctant student.
Well, I don't want to, put you in a position where you're telling other teachers what to do, because there's so many good teachers, and it's kind of like in my own profession. I know that I can learn from other people. What can other teachers learn from you?
Okay. I think if you entered my classroom and you wanted to observe me or let me be your mentor, the kinds of things that I feel are my strengths are my ability to be organized, my innovative lessons. I'm not a textbook teacher, although I understand that textbooks can be a quality resource. They are a resource, and so whenever I write my lesson plans, they may not always include a textbook as the focus. I want to bring the real world into my classroom, and so that involves maybe technology and interaction and hands-on learning, and it's more student focused and less teacher focused because kid language is so valuable. Students need to demonstrate their learning and show that knowledge to each other and learn from each other.
Well, you got students today, even at 2nd and 3rd grade levels, who do things in technology that most people can't do today that are adults. You see them with phones and all the apps. How has that helped you or hindered you? I'm assuming that kind of technology has really helped their learning curve a lot when they get here.
Absolutely, and like I said, having that commitment to being a lifelong learner is what you have to do. I want to be a technology savvy teacher. I believe that is what we need to do because that's what our students are interested in. It's and I love it. I have to admit, I love it. So I'm always looking to see what's going to engage my students.
Okay.
And it's never going to be what's on page 55 in a textbook. They're not going to remember that great lesson you taught out of the textbook, but they're going to remember something innovative and exciting that you did, that you brought into the classroom that connects to their interests.
And I feel like my education has made me become more open-minded about other people and like the way they think and their religion, their way of expression, because I do believe that not everybody expresses their ideas in the same manner. So my psychology major will help me understand how to communicate, how to understand people, and get me to where I want to be in life. Well, in my history classes, I learned that your attitude towards a subject it's a reflection of your history. It's a reflection of what you've been through, and I guess that kind of goes to the psychology thing of it. You react a certain way because of this that you went through, because this happened to you in the past. So if I didn't get a college degree or I didn't go to college, I wouldn't understand that, and I would just be like, well, you know what, you just don't, you're not interested.
So talk about how the community, how parents can get involved. There's a certain level that you can teach via the book and in, using the computer and everything else. But obviously that takes a lot of having the parents' support. Having a better student's going to, obviously a lot of your better students are going to have better home lives to where they don't have to worry about some of the ills that go on with paying bills and,
Sure.
and all the other things. How do you engage the family to help support your own students?
Well, I think parents are students' first teachers, and my students come from different family backgrounds, and that it has to be taken into account. We've got single parents, we've got grandparents raising students, and parents will really want to know what it is they can do to reach their students. And as a teacher, I want to work to support the parents and make sure that they have good ideas that they can use at home. When I talk about my relationship with the parents at my school, I look at it as a triangle. It's the parent, teacher, and the student. And without one of those sides, well, it falls flat. You could actually turn it out into a square, I guess, if you wanted to add the community involvement piece to it. But ultimately, the support that's going to happen is primarily going to come from the teacher and the parents for that student. So keeping them informed is really important. What's going on in the classroom, inviting them. I constantly invite them to things that are going on in the classroom. I keep a website and I update them on things that they can do. And being that partnership, establishing that strong partnership before school even starts. As soon as you know who your students are going to be, begin making those phone calls and talking to parents and welcoming them into your classroom as part of your family in that school year.
Well, and I read somewhere, I believe on the state's website, that you had posted some things in Spanish as well. How does that, how do you see that in your own community? Obviously, that population in Memphis has grown, so.
It has. Unfortunately, I don't have as many students in this area as I did at my former school, but I still use it a little bit. When several years ago, I had noticed that our population was increasing, and I'd written a grant that was funded by the Rotary Foundation, and I was able to study Spanish for teachers in Mexico, and that immersion program really stepped up my ability to communicate in Spanish. And it also allowed me to go to an area in Mexico where a lot of our students were actually coming from. So being able to connect on that level, understanding where my students came from that came here. And we have students from all over the world, but that was just, at that time, that was what I was seeing. And I didn't think that it was right for students to have to wait for translators. And I wanted to have the tools to help them now. Being able to speak Spanish, it helps my colleagues. Being able to translate even documents or help them with registration. I've even gone to doctors' offices to help parents communicate with medical professionals. I've helped students make sure they had all their immunizations. I know it's going the extra mile, but it's what I thought was what was needed. And, after all, I guess my mindset is this is what I think is right, and that's kind of what drives me through my profession. I think that this is right. I'm going to take a stand on this. This is what I'm going to do to try to make an impact.
Well, so if you go back to where you were in college to where you are now, what classes best prepared you? I mean, obviously, even Spanish education, but what were some of the classes that you pulled back from? I mean, now I look back on my own career and I can tell where I pulled from certain classes and subjects rather. What were some of the things that you really pulled from in your own classes that could help a teacher concentrate? If I'm a student today and I know I want to be a teacher, what classes do they need to pay a little extra attention to?
I think any of the courses on classroom management, anything that involves decoding the standards for students, planning. That's probably one of the biggest challenges for a teacher to I guess, plan innovative lessons, and it's time consuming, and being able to balance time. Being able to plan the school day and how you're going to allocate time for every standard that you need to teach. Whether you're self-contained or you are a departmentalized teacher, it still takes a lot of time to do that planning.
Well, you've seen a lot of teachers, you've worked with a lot of teachers that come from different schools. What can colleges and universities today do to better help prepare students? And that could have applied to you as well. What extra things do we as part of the university climate need to do to help give better student teachers down the road?
Well, I think that we have a much more rigorous teacher evaluation process, and I think that college students need to have that same mirrored experience at the college level that we're having now. So that way when they get out into their regular classroom, it's not a big shock that they're having to go through the teacher evaluation process. Our standards are changing. We have turned to the Common Core standards, and that needs to be demonstrated in the college level, so that's something that they're prepared to do, to plan lessons related to Common Core. Our assessments, our state assessments are changing for our students. I think college prep programs need to stay on top of the changes in education across the state and across the nation, because once a student graduates and they choose a school, whether it's here in Memphis or anywhere else, they need to be prepared for what our requirements are. And so that way it's not a whole new prep program all over again, a trial by fire, so to speak, as soon as you start teaching. We want teachers to be retained, right? We want teachers to stay beyond 5 years. We know that teachers quit between the years of 0 to 5. And in order to retain teachers, they need to come out ready. And in order to do that, it means being able to meet the challenges at that first year rather than that year 5. So a good mentoring program when you're beginning your career, that's going to be really important. But if you already knew what to anticipate while you're in the college level, you'd be more prepared when you started.
So, being a teacher's tough. You got long hours, not nearly enough reward. You got students screaming, parents complaining, but you do all that and you care. What drives you to be the best teacher you can be?
I love my students. My students are what drive me to come to school every day. It's my passion for what I do. I tease my students because sometimes at night I have trouble sleeping because I'm so excited about the innovative instruction that I'm going to teach the next day. I'm excited about how they're going to be so thrilled to do the next activity or the lesson sequence, and I can't wait to see their faces the next day. Most recently, Smart Technology has donated a new smart board to my classroom, and so I stayed at school one night till 7, 8 o'clock to make sure that it was mounted in the right place and all the materials were set up correctly. And I could not wait until the next morning for them to get started using that, because I knew that that was really going to get them excited about learning. And those are the things I think that keep me driven in my profession, knowing how I'm going to reach my students and get them excited about learning.
If I'm a student who's gotten an education degree, teaching degree, and they've got some classroom experience, what's your advice from a job standpoint? What's the first thing they should do once they graduate so that they can look for that career path?
Well, let me backtrack a little bit and tell you a little bit about my story. So when I was student teaching, I was gung-ho, ready to go. I could not wait to have my own classroom. And I had 2 great cooperating teachers, one at Cape Lawn Elementary School and one at Spring Hill Elementary School. And I got to know all the teachers of that school, and I got involved in their extracurricular programs, and I got to know the principals there. And lo and behold, at my second placement at Spring Hill, And I was a fall graduate, which sometimes can be a challenge to get a job because the school year has already started. But at Spring Hill, they had a teacher that was on maternity leave, and they saw something in me, and they chose me to take over for that teacher that January. So connecting with the administrators while you're student teaching is a great way, because those administrators, they may not have a spot at that school, but they might be able to help you find a spot at other schools. So do a great job in your student teaching and get to know that administrator. That will take you a long way. If after that you don't have a job right away, you could choose to substitute for a while, and that will help you have experiences in other grade levels, because you might find that maybe you would prefer to teach second grade, or maybe you prefer to teach fifth grade, and get to know where your niche is in terms of what you enjoy teaching.
Well, it's networking, just like with any career.
Absolutely.
Getting your foot in the door and working with people, you know. So
If you see a school that you really would like to work for, leave your resume for that administrator. Having that drive and that ambition will be evident, and that's true for any career.
good. Well, the 2012-2013 Tennessee Teacher of the Year is now my favorite teacher. So, Allyson, thank you for being on An Education That Works. If you're like me, then you probably remember some of the best teachers you ever had. And if you're inspired by Allyson's story, then I urge you today to go to aneducationthatworks.com. Help change your life, improve your career, or change our world, and begin by furthering your education today. On behalf of Victory University, thank you for An Education That Works.
Hi guys, my name is Alexis Grace. You probably know me either from American Idol Season 8, yeah, I sang a lot on stage, or if you listen to the radio, I'm on Q1075 every day, Monday through Friday, from 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock. But more importantly, the reason why I'm here talking to you today is because I'm going to be here for the Toys for Tots music benefit on December 6th. I'm so excited and thrilled that they've asked me to be here to perform on this stage right here. I'm going to be performing my favorite Christmas songs, some originals, and some ones that you probably already know as well. But more importantly, this event is about the children, because every child deserves a Christmas, and that's what Toys for Tots is all about. So come join in on the fun and help out the kids this Christmas, and have some fun singing with me December 6th for the Toys for Tots music benefit.
Here at Victor, we have a more hands-on, with smaller class sizes. You get to know on a personal level the teachers, and they work with you in depth. I took the best opportunity that presented itself, and I went with it. But it was the chance to grow as a student, as a baseball player, and continue my career towards that, and earning a degree. We are working together as a group, as a team, with the same common goal.